edition of zEUs. This edition, Maastricht as a cultural capital, the new blue card by the EU. But first we're going to take a look at the new Eastern Partnership. Why would the Union want to do business with countries like Belarus?
Russia is our strategic ally and partner, and we are not going to abandon our relations with Russia.
3 weeks ago, the leaders of the EU met with representatives from Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan and Belarus in Prague to discuss a new form of cooperation called the Eastern Partnership.
The idea is to upgrade, once again, the relations with those neighbors. Because in the past we used to have the European neighbourhood policy.
What we want to do is provide even more assistance to these countries to implement their reforms, economic and political reforms.
There was a recognition that that policy doesn't really work, it doesn't have an impact.
But the second point is also bring these 6 countries together and to talk to each other, because they are at different stages in their development, in their reform processes. Some have done it, some haven't even started it.
However, not everything is as peaceful as it seems. Until recently, Belarusian politicians were denied entry into the EU. Under Lukashenko, there is no free press, political opposition is suppressed, and people are imprisoned due to political reasons. But why has the EU changed its mind and is now cooperating with a man who is often called the last dictator of Europe?
Most of these countries are transit countries for energy deliveries to the European Union. And of course, we ourselves, have a core interest of having these as very sure transit partners for energy coming to the European Union, or, like Azerbaijan, a country that produces energy and exports energy.
The Commission has a fairly clear interest in trying to organize or diversify the supply for the whole of the European Union. And that idea it's trying to pursue, and Belarus is one of the means to make sure that, well, hopefully they can develop some more energy partnerships with Belarus.
It is of course not only the EU that changed its attitude, but also Belarus, which turned away from its focus on Russia.
For us, the Eastern Partnership is a means to improve our relations with the European Union. So it's rather an act of rebalancing our foreign policy. We are very interested in taking full participation in this platform for cooperation.
And this is, of course, for Lukashenko a perfect situation, because whenever there's something going on in Russia he doesn't like, or when they try to offer him again a state union that they under conditions that he doesn't want to accept with Russia, he turns to the EU. Now the Eastern Partnership gives him a platform to do that.
We hope that the Eastern Partnership will help us to upgrade bilateral relations with the European Union, and also will provide an opportunity and a platform to work on the existing difficulties or problems in relations with the European Union.
2009 is going to be an important year. It's going to be a year in which the Eastern Partnership is going to be a priority, and I hope very much that will be with the Belarusian side.
There is a certain interest, economic interest also, for Lukashenko to open up, because he also needs the currency.
It seems as if the Eastern Partnership is mainly driven by economic and strategic interests, and it remains to be seen whether its official aim to enhance democracy will be met.
9 years from now, Maastricht hopes to become cultural capital of Europe. It's a long way from the nomination to the selection. What makes Maastricht a potential winner, and how does the city plan to win this race?
For every year, certain cities are appointed European Capital of Culture. One of the nominees for 2018 is the Euro region, including Maastricht, Hasselt, Geleen, Liège, Aachen and Herlen. But it is a long way from the nomination to the selection. Participation in the contest allows Maastricht to develop and present its supposedly distinct culture to the world. Why should Maastricht be European Capital of Culture?
Maastricht is very alive. It has heritage, but it's also very contemporary. It has universities, there's everything here.
For Maastricht itself, it will also be a chance to get out of or to redirect and find its own identity.
The competition for European Capital of Culture might appear to be culturally motivated at first sight. But is the term really accurate? Contrary to ideal aims, such as boosting confidence or developing a certain identity, the main incentive to compete appears to be of an economic nature. there is not much to invest, as virtually all costs are borne by the respective national government.
The cultural capital has become an event which goes far beyond culture. As a city, you don't have to invest much money, but the benefits are apparently very high. So the leverage is great, and it's a way of attracting attention and resources to your city.
Indeed, it is quite appealing to become European Capital of Culture. Nonetheless, certain challenges must be taken into account.
Well, the challenges for cultural capital, I think, overlap with the same challenges in building cross-border regions. And that is how to include a bottom-up process of making this region visible for the average citizen.
Who do you want to engage? Do you want a big, broad public participation? And if so, how will you try to engage them all of the way?
Brussels is keen to see a more European identity for the cultural capital, and that could cause challenges for the cities in the future.
For now, Maastricht is only nominated and has not yet won the race for 2018. What advice could be given to the city in order to successfully advance from this competition?
I think that the key thing for any city is to be yourself, to look at the strengths that you have within the city, but also to balance the heritage side of things, the things that you've been famous for over the years, with some of the newer and innovative stuff.
Maastricht and the region have cultural diversity to offer. But evidently, this is not the main reason to apply for becoming European Capital of Culture. The event seems to focus on economic gains rather than on culture itself. Within the next decade, we will find out whether Maastricht and the Euregio can overcome the challenges and reap the attractive benefits of this contest.
The European Union has just adopted the so-called Blue Card, which is a new regulation for highly qualified immigrants. Immigration could actually help to solve the Union's problems, especially with regard to its declining population.
Over the last years, migration has become a controversial issue in the European Union. Not only refugees at the southern shore of Europe are restricted from entry, also for highly qualified migrants, the walls of Fortress Europe are often too high. Ida from Azerbaijan applied for a student visa to Brussels.
There was no any Belgian embassy in our country, in Baku, so we were obliged to go to the Istanbul to apply there, to waste money, to waste time. Afterwards, I was wait for 2 months, and I get a rejection.
On a second try, Ida managed to get a student visa to Brussels. She is now studying in the capital of Europe. At a conference organized by the student association AG in Cologne, Ida shared her ideas with students from all over Europe.
Migration is definitely a huge issue in Europe today, and so we think that Europe as a whole should address it, and not the national states by themselves.
In different workshops, the students discussed what a better EU migration policy could look like. The most important step for them was to try and feel into the situation of a migrant.
In our workshop we have started by talking about or trying to put ourselves into the situation of refugees and try to find out why people leave their countries.
However, not all Europeans are prepared to accept migrants into their communities. Even though it appears clear that Europe needs more migrants, there are still a lot of prejudices, particularly against low-qualified migrants.
For sure we need more high-skilled migrants, but I think some countries need low-skilled migrants as well. For example, Spain for a long time needed a lot of low-skilled migrants in the construction sector, in the industrial sector, in the agricultural sector.
Sila Fertina is certain that these immigrants will integrate just as well as highly qualified migrants.
I don't think that there is a difference between migrants, for example, from Turkey or from Morocco or from any African country. There are no differences in the mentality, I think, because everyone, every person, individual, is struggling for a better future, is struggling for wealth, for having a house, having a car, having a good job, and so on. This is the dream of everyone.
When she finishes her studies, Ida would also like to find a job and to settle down in the European Union. What will be her chances?
It will be really hard because now I stay with the residence permit and I get it from the student visa. And in the future, if I would like to stay and work in the European Union, I should have a residence, the work permit. I don't know what will happen, but I will struggle with this and I will go to the end, but I want to stay and I want to work here.
Getting a work permit will become easier for third country nationals in the future. In May, the Council of Ministers adopted the EU Blue Card, which will make it easier for highly qualified migrants to live and work in the European Union.
Normally it was a thought of the European Commission to make it something like a real European instrument, which means I apply for a blue card in Spain and after 2 years I'm free to travel to Germany, for example. But member states were something like really successful to bring it down, and now it's something like an additional track which you can use to enter, for example, Spain, which you can use to enter Germany. But if you want to go from Spain to Germany as a blue card holder, Germany can immediately say, no, we don't need you.
It remains to be seen whether the blue card will be effective and improve the conditions for those who seek to live and work in the European Union.
Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again next time when it's all about analyzing the European elections.